The dining room shimmered with soft candlelight, flickering against polished silverware and crystal glasses. Laughter floated in waves, interrupted only by the clink of forks and the low hum of background music. The table was flawless, every dish placed with care. But one chair sat empty, the napkin untouched, its absence more noticeable with each passing toast. Eyes kept drifting toward it, not lingering long enough to seem rude, but always returning like a thought you can't shake. Someone chuckled and said she was probably out selling her little trinkets again, always chasing the holiday hustle. The comment got a few forced laughs, but no one really responded, and for a moment, even the music felt too loud. It should have been a joke. It wasn't. The chair stayed empty, but it filled the room more than any person could. For years, she was the first one in the kitchen and the last one to sit, if she ever sat at all. Holidays meant spreadsheets of ingredients, oven timers, hand-whipped creams, and delicate centerpieces no one ever asked for but everyone expected. While her brother posed with champagne and her parents greeted guests, she adjusted lighting, reheated gravy, and made sure no one's plate was ever empty. No one ever thought to ask if she wanted to be in the photo. Her place was behind the lens, or better yet, behind the stove. Birthdays passed with half-hearted texts or a forgotten cake, and when she asked for nothing, they called her practical, the one who didn't need a fuss. Adrian once joked that her job was cute, like a hobby, said it with that smirk he wore when he knew he had the audience on his side. He talked about sales targets and real estate commissions while she wiped down counters and kept quiet. What they didn't know, because no one ever asked, was that her Etsy store pulled in over $120,000 last year. She'd built a team of virtual assistants, negotiated shipping contracts, and launched her own product line. She filed her taxes as an S-corp and ran leaner margins than Adrian's last investment property. But in that dining room, in their eyes, she was still the girl with flour on her cheeks and tape stuck to her fingers, folding place cards with invisible ink. They saw her labor, but never her worth. And after enough years of swallowing that, something inside her stopped trying to explain. The message came in on a Wednesday afternoon, short and familiar. Her mother had typed out the menu as if it were a grocery list, ending with a line she'd read for years without flinching. "Can you handle the turkey, stuffing, sides, and dessert again this year? Adrian's bringing guests." No question mark, no room to decline, just the usual assumption that she'd show up and fall in line. She stared at the screen longer than usual. Her phone rested against a notepad filled with order confirmations and shipment tracking numbers. She had just wrapped a record month, December sales already pushing her yearly total past $128,000. That number used to mean something. Now it just sat there beside a text that called her a helper, like a kitchen intern with no other plans. She wasn't angry yet. She was tired of being unrecognized. Something inside her moved, but she didn't speak. She didn't type back. She looked around her small home office, the labeled bins, the shelves of packing tape and printed labels, and thought about how no one in her family had ever asked what she actually did for a living. They called it cute. They called it crafty. But they never called it real. That realization settled in her chest like a cold, quiet stone, and for the first time in years, she didn't rush to reply. She let the request sit unanswered, a small act of resistance that felt bigger than it looked. She wrote the words and deleted them 3 times. At first, it was a long explanation full of softened edges and disclaimers, the kind that tried to sound respectful while begging to be understood. Then it became a shorter message, still polite, still apologetic. Then, finally, it was just 3 words. "I'm not coming." Her thumb hovered over the screen, motionless. Her heart thudded like it had something to lose. She stared at the words, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. The weight of years leaned on that tiny glowing button, and then, without flinching, she pressed send. The quiet after was immediate. She checked again, as if the message might vanish. But it stayed, clear and irreversible. No reply came, no call, no emoji, no guilt-laced follow-up, just silence stretching wide across the hours. For the first time in her adult life, she had chosen her voice over their expectations. The air felt still but sharp, She didn't feel free yet, but she knew the lock had turned. By mid-afternoon, the kitchen was a mess of scorched pans and raised voices. The turkey had gone in too early, then too hot, its skin blistered and bitter. Adrian stood by the oven, waving a dish towel like it might reverse the damage, barking at cousins who only came for the wine. The gravy split in a forgotten saucepan while someone Googled how to fix it, too late and too distracted. Stuffing came out dry, mashed potatoes congealed in silence. Guests whispered, shifting in their seats, asking politely if Marin was running late. No one answered. Adrian snapped at a niece for stacking plates the wrong way. His charm thinned with every minute. No one knew where the serving spoons were. No one had ironed the napkins. The cranberry sauce came from a can, and no one thought to chill it. For all their pride and planning, they had no idea how much of their tradition rested on one person's invisible labor, and now, without her, the performance collapsed. The front door opened to a scent she didn't recognize right away. Cinnamon, sage, something bubbling gently on the stove. Rachel's house was small, the kind of place where the hallway creaked and nothing matched, but everything felt exactly where it was meant to be. The plates were chipped, the silverware didn't match, and the tablecloth had a faint wine stain near one corner. A radio played soft jazz under the hum of conversation that didn't demand anything from her. Rachel poured coffee like it was an invitation and not a transaction. No one asked what she brought. No one asked if she could help carve, fold, plate, or clean. She sat, and for the first time in years, no one looked to her to keep things from falling apart. She let herself breathe. They ate slowly, with pauses. The pie came out lopsided but warm. They talked about nothing important and everything real. She felt the tension in her chest unclench, a silence not filled with loneliness but with peace. Rachel didn't try to fix her or ask for the story. She just passed the butter and smiled. It was the smallest kind of kindness, but it held more weight than a dozen hollow thank yous. Later that night, back in her own space, she opened her laptop and clicked through airline tabs. Sunlight, ocean, soft towels folded by someone else. She scrolled until she found a flight to Key West. Midweek, off-peak, just one seat. She booked it without asking anyone. No permission, no explanation. She would spend New Year's somewhere warm, with no oven timers, no aprons, no expectations. As the confirmation email landed, she felt something settle inside her. Not pride, not revenge. Just a room. Room to be something other than useful. Room to belong to herself. There's something that happens when you're always the one who gets things done. People stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as a solution. You become the one they count on, not because they respect you, but because it's easier than learning how to stand on their own. Over time, your reliability becomes background noise, appreciated in theory but unnoticed in practice. Being helpful gets twisted into being invisible. If you don't complain, they assume you're fine. If you don't need much, they assume you don't matter much. And when you do speak up, it feels like an interruption, like you've broken a contract they never realized existed. But obligation isn't love. Sacrifice doesn't always lead to recognition. Sometimes it just sets the expectation that you'll keep giving without limit. She didn't ruin Christmas. She didn't disappear to punish them. She stepped away because they never learned how to see her when she was standing right there. Her absence didn't break the tradition. It revealed who had been holding it together. And once you see that clearly, it's hard to unsee. The moment you stop overfunctioning, the whole system shakes. And that silence you feared, it starts to sound like peace. The kitchen was quieter than usual when she stepped inside. Her mother offered a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Adrian cracked a joke about overcooking the turkey and reached for a second helping of leftovers, as if nothing had happened. No one mentioned the mess. No one apologized. She placed her small black notebook on the counter and opened it halfway through lunch. In the middle of a pause, she looked up and spoke plainly. Her online business had brought in $132,000 last year. She said it like she was mentioning the weather. No edge, no performance. Adrian stopped chewing. Her father reached for his water. Her mother blinked. No one said a word. She closed the notebook gently and finished her meal. She didn't need their reaction. She wasn't waiting for it. She wasn't showing off. She was simply done pretending she had nothing to show. And that was enough. When was the last time someone saw you for who you are, not just for what you do? Have you ever said no and felt something powerful shift inside you? If you've ever been the one holding everything together, ask yourself who's holding you. You don't need to wait for permission to matter. You don't need to earn rest or prove your worth through exhaustion. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose your own peace and let your voice rise above the noise. If this story felt like yours, maybe it's time to tell your own.